I'm tired of my sister-in-law, and I even plan to not go to my brother's wedding because of her weird behavior. My 27-year-old brother, 25 years old, is marrying Lina, 24 years old. She doesn't have a family, so my family tried to make her feel really included. I liked her the few times I saw her until she started to get weird. I live 5 hours away from my family because I worked as Rita's 98F personal nurse, so I lived with her, and I'm studying another degree, so I don't really have too much free time. The first time I met Lina, almost 2 years ago, she came up to me saying that everyone in the family always talks about me or asks for me in every family reunion, and she wanted to meet me. I made a little talk with her, and then I went to talk with my aunts the rest of the night. Whenever I was talking to a member of my family, Lina would get into the conversation, even if it was private. I assumed she was trying to fit in and include herself, so I included her in the conversations, even though I found it uncomfortable. After that, she included herself all the time in any conversation I was having with anyone at any family gathering, but I would include her in the conversations. The problem started when they announced their engagement. They were going to announce it at a party, but before they announced it, I had to leave the place urgently because Rita had fallen out of the bathtub. My brother understood the urgency, and he took me to a room, just the two of us, to still tell me the news of his engagement. Before I left, I congratulated and hugged him, but Lina ruined our moment because she complained, saying that the firstborn of the family, me, must be there. But I just ignored her, and my brother explained to her that I had to leave. I have been taking care of Rita since before I graduated, and she always trusted in my skills as a nurse, and she's even paying for my second degree, which is a lot. So she became a third grandmother to me. After falling in the bathroom, she broke her hip, and her health deteriorated greatly. It's just me and her pregnant great-grandchild who takes care of her. My mother also comes to the hospital to help me sometimes because Rita doesn't like to be touched by the hospital nurses. She hates when strangers touch her, due to some traumas from her childhood. A few months ago, Lina went out with the women of the family to try on wedding dresses, and one of my cousins told me that Lina kept complaining because I didn't go with them. Rita was sick, and I was taking care of her. Lina knew that. On my mother's birthday, I invited her for a brunch. It was supposed to be a mother and daughter outing, like we do every year, but Lina insisted on coming. My mother felt uncomfortable, but we included her in our brunch anyways. I can tell a lot of situations like that where Lina pushed herself too hard to get close to me, even if I was always kind to her. She even had an argument with a cousin because of that. I reached my limit yesterday. Rita passed away 3 days ago, and not only am I really sad, but also my parents and brothers, since everyone knew her and she was a great woman. Rita wants us to bury her ashes in the cottage where she grew up. Rita's great-granddaughter surprised me with an arranged trip for the two of us to go and bury the ashes next week. I told my family that, and my mother said she wants to go too. But Lina got totally mad and started to complain, saying that we're going on a trip 2 days before the wedding. To be honest, I totally forgot about it, and I don't feel with the energy to go. My mother explained that we will only go to bury the ashes and come back literally the night before the wedding day, and that everything is actually ready. Lina continued complaining, and I snapped when she told me that I care more about an old lady who wasn't my family and that I should care a lot more about her, since she'd be my real family, my brother's wife, and my niece's and nephew's mother, and the dead woman wasn't even my blood. I told Lina that Rita was like family to me and that she's not even a friend to me, that she's not relevant in my life, and if it wasn't for my brother, I wouldn't even try to get along with her. Maybe I was mean, but I was sad and angry. I left the place while Lina was trying to argue with me, and she started to cry, saying that she only wanted to be family for me. I always wanted to make her feel included, but she crossed my boundaries and doesn't have empathy at all. She didn't even give me condolences when Rita passed away and kept talking about the wedding all day. while I made calls to take care of the funeral. Now I'm thinking that I don't even want to go to the wedding. I love my brother, and he even chose my bridesmaid dress, but I feel too bad to go. And I'm even thinking of cutting off contact with Lina because her behavior is too weird and dense. I'm sad, and I want to cry all day because I lost the woman I considered my guide for 5 years for her wisdom, and I feel guilty for not wanting to go to my brother's wedding and make him feel sad. But I just don't want to deal with Lina anymore because next time I see her, I know I will surely fight with her if she makes another comment like that. Relevant comments. Comment 1. If Lina knew what having healthy relationships looked like and should have talked with Op privately on why Op wasn't invested into having family times. Op. She already had an argument with one of my cousins, who tried to explain to her that I have a busy life and I can't go out too often to my parents' house. But Lina just complained that I don't care about the family and started to talk ill about me, to which my cousin got angry with her. Also, my mother, who never liked physical contact, asked Lina to please not hug her so much because it makes her uncomfortable. Not even her children hug her because she gets tense, but Lina just doesn't listen and keeps hugging her, making my mother feel anxious. We all have a lot of patience with her, and we understand that she never had a family, but there comes a point when patience runs out. She doesn't even listen to my brother, and I can't live because of her. Her behavior not only distances her from me, but also from the rest of the family, and we no longer find a way to set a limit and have her understand that there are things that make us feel uncomfortable. We're all really gentle with her. I was too gentle with her, but she just thinks about herself. At this point, comment 2, is it possible that she has odd notions about what it means to be a good S if she didn't have a family? It's possible she picked up ideas from fiction, and depending on the author, fictional relationships can be downright odd. Ask her if she thinks she's being polite by inserting herself into private conversations, trying to be part of every single thing, etc. She may be doing her damnedest to be good to you and is being damned for it, but also she needs her framework of what is appropriate adjusted by you, setting boundaries of what makes for a good relationship. She might even welcome explicit descriptions of what a healthy relationship looks like. I think she has a weird vision of what a family should be. Although what confuses me is that while she tries to force a good relationship with me, she doesn't mind talking badly about me behind my back. So I don't really understand what she really wants. She always emphasizes that I'm the firstborn, so I should be in all the family stuff because it's my responsibility, and I have no idea where she got that idea or concept from. At first, I thought that she wants a family like the ones in the movies, but her behavior becomes hostile to me behind my back, and I don't know if she does that to other family members as well, because the only person who tried to explain the boundaries in a serious way was my cousin, and they ended up having a strong argument because Lina is too stubborn. So, I don't understand what she wants, and I'm just tired. Update. First of all, I'm grateful to those who gave me good advice, even though others left weird comments and hadn't even read the post before leaving a comment. I want to clarify again that I always tried to make Lina feel welcome, and I always understood that she never had a family, but do I deserve to be treated without empathy? Why should I overflow with empathy for her when she never showed empathy for me? I'm grieving and can't even have peace right now because of her. I also got comments saying that I should treat her like a toddler, but that's just rude. She's a grown woman and should be treated like what she is. I think it would be insulting to treat her like a child. I talked to my parents about everything and also to my brothers. In the conversation, I discovered things that Lina did and said that are even more weird. My mother said that Lina often makes comments like, "I'm more of a daughter to you than Op, since she never visits you and I come all the time," which makes my mother uncomfortable. She also said that she explained a lot of times to Lina that she doesn't like physical touch, not even us hug her, because she gets anxious and tense, but Lina just keeps hugging her. My mother also said that Lina speaks very badly of me, And Lina even said that I cried more because of Rita's death than I did because of my real grandfather's death, which is something really shitty to say. My father said that a year ago. Lina approached him, just to say, "Your second daughter," referring to herself, "knows you better than your first daughter." Ha ha ha, comparing the gifts we both gave him for Father's Day, and he just laughed it off, but he thought it was a weird comment to make. My father was the only one who always kind of disliked Lina, so now I know why. My younger brother also said that he heard many times how Lina complained about me not going to family gatherings, although she also complained about that in my face a few times. So, it seems that we all shut down a lot of things because we wanted to understand her situation and make my brother happy. We live next to a poor neighborhood, and we know a lot of other people in the same situation as Lina. So, we tried to make her feel included. But I don't understand her behavior to me at all, at this point. I was crying most of all, because I just don't want to deal with this after Rita's death, and I felt bad for my brother. My brother hugged me and said he's sorry and started to tear up, saying that it's difficult for him to deal with Lina's behavior too. He told me that Lina was always making hateful comments towards Rita. She never met Rita, and all of us in the family were sad about her departure because she was a great woman, the kindest woman who ever lived. So, it's really sick that she hates an old woman who's dead. And every time my brother tried to explain to her that Rita was important to us, she just gave him a cold shoulder and didn't talk to him for the rest of the day. But he's trying really hard to help her because she always wanted a family. I told him that we want to be her family, but we need to set boundaries because those comments hurt. My father told him that this is just pushing her away from everyone, and he doesn't want someone talking ill about his daughter. My brother looked really tired. He actually looks really tired every day since a few months ago, but I want to think it's because of the wedding. I didn't tell him that I was thinking of cutting contact with Lina, because I didn't want at all to make him feel like he has to choose between her or me. Instead, I told him that we need to set hard boundaries with her so that in the future we can have a healthy coexistence and she can heal her mind. We have been too gentle so far, but the situation is already at its limit. I didn't talk with Lina at all, so I suppose my brother talked with her really seriously. The wedding is still ongoing, and I will go just to show my support to my brother. But at this point, I just feel that he's making a wrong decision. Because, honestly, I don't think Lina is a mentally unstable person. Actually, she's not even a good person in my eyes anymore. But I don't want to say something and be the jealous big sister who ruins his relationship. So I will just stay in silence, letting everything flow. I just want to go on the trip and have some mental peace until the wedding day comes. I don't feel mentally well enough to argue right now or to feel even more guilty because of how I'm dealing with all of this. I just want to bury Rita's ashes with her great-granddaughter and my mother. Sorry for the really bad English. I write almost everything from the translator. Edit? Yes, we tried to put boundaries a lot of times. It's not like we will hit her or be aggressive so she could understand, but I'll admit, we've all been too soft and understanding of her out of pity. Lina just doesn't want to understand or listen to others' complaints, even when someone talks seriously. And the incident she had with me and my cousin only showed that when someone talks to her seriously, she becomes the victim or gets madly angry. Even what my brother said made it clear to us that she's just maybe never going to respect boundaries. So it's better for me to just stop trying and just cut contact with her, at least for this and next week until I feel better and ready to talk about this again. Mini update. My brother already knows everything that Lina did, like I said in the post. He's also tired of her behavior, but we can't do anything about their relationship. If he wants to stay, my father had a conversation with him a few hours ago to tell him that we're worried and if he wants to think better about the wedding. But my brother said that he's fine, only tired, and will continue with the wedding. So yeah, we can't do anything but show my brother that we're with him and try to help him open his eyes. But people have to understand that we can't help him in an aggressive way. saying that Lina had be or kicking her out of the family because that will only benefit her, as she can take that opportunity to manipulate my brother by making herself the victim again. Dealing with a person full of traumas and childhood problems is not easy at all. She does not know what basic limits are, and now that she knows them, she does not want to respect them. But we can't be aggressive with her because she's not a mentally well person. Don't blame my brother if you don't understand what it's like to be in a toxic relationship. He's not to blame for anything, and he's just a victim. Relevant comments. Comment 1. Why is he still getting married to this woman, considering this is how she treats his family? Just make sure to support your brother if he ever becomes sane enough to get a divorce. For what he said, she also treats him badly, so I don't understand either. Maybe he's still too in love, but the only thing I can do is show him my support for now. I just don't want to talk with Lina at all because I'm not feeling well mentally. Comment 2. I do think your family might want to gently let him know that they're worried about how he's being treated. He might tell Lina, and then they'll shoot the messenger though. We did it. My mom asked him if it's a toxic relationship, and he just kept quiet and said he just wants to help Lina. He has the same behavior that friends of mine have had when they had toxic partners, and I really know that when people are in abusive relationships, they are usually blinded by love, and they don't want to believe reality. I feel fool for not noticing that behavior before, but I wasn't around the family too much lately. Comment 3. I don't understand why your family doesn't tell Lina that her negative comments are not welcome. Your family needs to defend you and Rita and stress they do not tolerate disparaging comments. If she has nothing nice to say, there is the door. Bye-bye. Your brother should really postpone the wedding and seek couple counseling. Lina's behavior needs to be adjusted before she can be part of your family. Right now, nobody likes her. Like I said, we all had too much patience with her because of her hard childhood, and we understand that a childhood like she had messes with your head. But I didn't know she was this mess. We told her that those comments are wrong many times, even my brother. But she is not a person with whom you can really talk seriously because she does not listen or gets angry. She has fought strongly with one of my cousins who wanted to put clear limits on her behavior. Our mistake was to not set hard boundaries on her out of pure pity. Even I have let pass many of her comments just because I feel pity for her, or because I don't want to hurt my brother. The same reason why my mother tries to not get angry when Lina hugs her. Comment 4. Your family has played nice for the sake of your brother. I get that, but I think it has gotten to the point that you're doing him a disservice. He's going to end up married to this very mentally unwell woman, and his family has just pretended that she's great all along, so he never saw any previous signs that things weren't as great from an outside perspective, and you all still continue to pretend it's not okay. I don't keep pretending that everything is fine. We all talked to my brother that Lina's behavior has to stop. The only thing I didn't tell him is that I plan to cut off contact with Lina to not make him feel pressured or feel like I'm manipulating him. He knows about her behavior, and like I said in the 2 posts, he always tried to correct that behavior and is also tired of that. But I can't do anything if he doesn't want to open his eyes. Now that he knows everything Lina did, it's clear that he knows her behavior is wrong, even towards him. But I can't force him to leave her if he doesn't want to see reality. It's not easy to leave an abusive relationship, even if all the signs are there. Update 2. I think it's been a while since I last posted, and I was feeling too stressed and didn't even log back into this account, as honestly, the comments only managed to stress me out even more. But there are people who keep asking me for an update and are worried about all of this mess. Also, sometimes I need to just vent. First of all, I want to make it clear that my brother is an adult. We can advise him, but the final decision is made by him. In my first post, I didn't know anything about what I said in my second post. Please understand that it was a time of stress and anxiety for me to discover all those things that obviously change the perspective you have of someone, and I was in a difficult moment. That being said, the wedding did happen. After another intervention, my father made it clear to my brother that he does not approve the marriage. My father didn't attend the wedding, and since that day, my brother doesn't speak to anyone in the family except my mother. But my mother doesn't want Lina in her house. So, it's complicated too? We all gave my brother the reason why getting married with Lina is a bad idea, but he chose to do it anyway. But he's my brother, and I know at some point he'll open his eyes, and he knows he can come to me anytime he needs. For people who will say, "Oh, but you should have done X, or you should have done Y, and your family should stop being doormats and kick Lina out of the house from the start," honestly, shut up. I think it wasn't enough to clarify that I had my own problems. Everyone in my family has our own problems and lives. We're just trying to be kind and continue the family piece with a person who had a complicated life. My family has always been very healthy, so the least we would believe is that someone my brother is dating has bad intentions. When you grow up in a healthy environment, it is difficult and shocking to deal with problematic people in the family, and it's even more difficult to do something that you know is going to bring serious problems. I personally didn't even see Lina, though many times, to know all of those weird situations I said in my second post. I can't take charge of a life that isn't mine, and I can't take responsibility for my brother's life or Lina's problems. To reassure everyone, Lina doesn't think about me stealing my identity or anything like that. She's weird, but not dangerous. Although what my father told me is strange. Anyway, my brother confessed to my father that Lina feels like my relationship with my brother is weird and she feels jealous of me because I'm his favorite person. My brother and I usually lie in the same bed to watch TV, play video games, and he usually hugs me. But it's something I do even with my other brother. But she thinks that's weird. I don't think that's weird at all, and I know many people who are close with their siblings in that way. My brother confessed that he and Lina tend to have a lot of arguments about it. Another thing he hid, since Lina gets jealous when he spends time alone with me, is that Lina doesn't understand how siblings treat each other. But at the same time, she also wants to be close to me. According to my brother, she wants to be very close to me, and that's why she doesn't know what comments to make near me and my family. I don't believe him. My father argued with him about it, and he expressed to my brother that he doesn't plan to go to the wedding. I didn't go either and just decided to stay more days away, grieving for Rita. So I don't know how it went because my mother avoided the wedding topic. I didn't ask, and I have been living in Rita's house for now. Sorry if this is not the update people wanted, but yeah, that's it. I'm sorry if anyone expected me to say something like that Lina is now in jail for impersonating me, or that Lina is actually my long-lost twin sister. The reality is as depressing and simple as everyone predicted, of Lina getting my brother mad at all of us and cutting off contact at this point. And now that my mind is calmer, I will just choose to let my brother do his life. I can't put energy on this, and my mother told me to just let him be, and we did everything we could. He's an adult. I don't understand what Lina wants. I don't understand if she hates me or if she likes me, or if she wants to be me. I understand that my brother is in a toxic relationship, but still, I can't help but feel hurt. We talked to my brother, trying to convince him not to get married, but at the end of the day, he made his decision. He even confessed many other things about Lina that he lied about and had hidden from us. So, for now, I know he's just going to try to protect her all the time. I even talked to Lina before they got married, but it was an argument that went nowhere and only made my brother mad at me for confronting her. But I knew that's what was going to happen the moment I put limits to Lina. The same thing happened to my father and my other brother. You just can't explain the boundaries to her because she doesn't respect them or gets offended. At this point, my mother only has little contact with Lina so that she can continue to have contact with my brother as well. Relevant comments. Comment 1. Hugs. You have to look out for yourself and hope your brother knows what he is doing. Lina has issues, but now you don't have to deal with her. Your brother may feel differently in a few months once he is basically cut off from the family. More drama ahead when she has the first grandchild. Lina is a very insecure pick-me person. My brother can't have biological children, and he doesn't want to adopt either because it's really difficult in my country. I doubt very much that they will have children, but I don't know. Comment 2. I remember your first post. I wonder if Lina has anxious attachment disorder. What is her relationship with her parents and siblings? It seems she wants to be the center of your brother and mother's world. Anything that gets in the way of that is upsetting to her. OP. More than being my mother's center of attention. I think she wants to be just my brother's center of attention. She wants to be my brother's favorite person by being my parents' daughter and his sister, if that makes any sense. I don't know. That's what I deduced from her behavior and what my brother said. She has no relationship with her family because they are dicks. Thank you for watching. If you haven't subscribed yet, please do so and hit the notification bell to stay updated with more shocking real-life stories happening around you. I opened my marriage, lost my husband, and now I'm fighting to win him back. Is it too late? I'm here to seek guidance on how to save my remaining marriage. Let me begin by stating that I have been with my spouse for 7 years, and we have been married for 5 of those years. I'll call him Skylar and James for privacy's sake. In our second year of community college, we got to know one another. James went on to receive a 4-year degree in business administration from a university that provides remote programs at the community college, while I obtained a 2-year degree in office management. In the present, James is 27, and I am 26, and we intended to have a child later this year. Having 4 children, ideally 2 boys and 2 girls, was our desire. Both of our families loved us, and we had a really happy marriage. This is where I made a big error. I formed a relationship with a delivery driver for one of the 3 major delivery companies, which some could refer to as a work-husband relationship. To keep things private, I'll call him Jaden. Jaden has been delivering to my office for about 2 years, at the age of 25 and unmarried. Unquestionably, we clicked right away. It wasn't romantic, but there was a spark that pulled me to him every time he made a delivery. We would converse for at least 10 minutes. I started to look forward to seeing him and always made sure to be honest with him when he showed up. Our chat went farther than normal. One day, Jaden said he wanted to ask me a personal question. He said he didn't want to offend me or endanger our business relationship because it was so personal. I encouraged him to ask and reassured him that it was okay. I feel a very strong attraction to you and wondered if you felt it too, he admitted. At that point, his audacity shocked and embarrassed me. After giving it some thought, I confessed that I felt it as well. Jaden continued by saying that if I weren't married, he would have asked me out. The conversation ended when I thanked him for the compliment. That was the last of him. Our conversations grew awkward and short throughout the course of the following week. I was so ashamed that I thought I had gone too far. Even as James and I continued to enjoy our married lives at home, the guilt persisted. To be clear, I have always been totally happy with James as a husband, friend, and lover. I thought he would have said the same of me. At the time, for me, he was ideal. Nevertheless, I mistakenly started to dream about having both my devoted husband and a relationship with Jaden that went beyond business chats. Later, I discovered that this is frequently called eating cake. Intrigued, I began reading up on open marriages and polyamory. I initially thought the concept was nasty and ridiculous. I was certain James would not consent, and even if he did, I wanted to prevent our marriage from being harmed and our family from becoming estranged. Weeks went by, and my married life was still great, but there were still thoughts of Jaden. I came upon a blog article by a lady in an open marriage with the heading "It Doesn't Hurt to Ask." When I went back to the subject, She talked about how she sought a relationship with a man she met while volunteering, even though she loved her spouse. After 2 years of suppressing her emotions, she finally asked her husband on a lengthy drive. He was interested, which surprised her, for years later. They apparently had a stronger, happier connection after opening their marriage and finding other lovers, because it mirrored exactly what I wanted but was too scared to question James about. Her tale struck a chord with me. Then one Sunday morning, I made the decision to bring up the topic. As we were relaxing at home, conversing and using our phones to browse the internet, I just read this online post about open marriages. I said immediately to James, "How do you feel about them? Are you talking about couples sleeping with other people?" He questioned, glancing at me. I reaffirmed and inquired about his thoughts once again. In response, James said he found it repulsive and added that if someone wanted to sleep together, they should simply seek a divorce. I said, "It's really becoming popular here in the US and other Western countries in an attempt to defuse the situation," but his expression made it obvious that he was disgusted by the subject, so I quickly changed the topic. His response made me decide that I would never bring it up again, since I didn't want to endanger our marriage, which I thought was fantastic. A few weeks later, James and I were snuggling in bed together, enjoying the glow from a fantastic evening. He remarked abruptly, "Who did you have in mind when you brought up open marriages last week?" As I lay on his chest, unable to see his face, I went cold. I gently lifted my head to look at him, and a pit developed in my stomach. "What are you discussing? What are you saying?" I stumbled. James clarified that he had read studies indicating that a woman's reference to an open relationship with her boyfriend frequently indicates that she has previously cheated or has another lover in mind. I was shocked by what he said. In fact, I was shaken to my very core. James remarked, "I know you too well." After realizing the effect of his comments, "Just be honest. I can tell you're hiding something." I could have stopped there, but instead, I remained silent, turned my head away, and finally told him, "I have never cheated on you and would never do so." Rather, I acknowledged that there was someone at work I may think about if we ever discussed an open marriage. "Tell me about this work friend," James insisted. I reluctantly started to describe Jaden and our encounters, including the moment he revealed his emotions for me. I didn't reveal, though, that I felt the same way about it. I was frightened by James's next statement. "You know, technically you've already cheated on me," he said. I retaliated defensively, saying, "I haven't cheated. Your relationship with this Jaden guy is what's known as an emotional affair," James retorted. James gave me an explanation of the term because I had never heard it before. I listened in frustration as he explained the workings of emotional affairs. James finally proposed that we end the conversation since he needed to go to bed because he had an early start the next day. I couldn't fall asleep, but he did. Rather, I picked up my phone and began looking up emotional affairs. What James had asserted was supported by article after article. My relationship with Jaden was more than simply an emotional one. It was a full-fledged one. I was overcome with guilt. I felt like I had let my hobby down. I went downstairs to make myself some tea because I couldn't sleep. And at around 4 o'clock in the morning, I fell asleep on the couch. James kissed me awake at 6:45 a.m. "I'm heading out for work," he declared. As usual, I kissed him back and told him I loved him, but this time with guilt weighing heavily on my mind. I made it clearer than ever, "You should start your day." It's almost 7 a.m. after making love for a few days. We were laying in bed once more when James abruptly remarked, "If you truly want to, I'd be willing to try an open marriage. Why are you bringing this up now?" I questioned, stunned. He clarified that he had been considering our earlier chats and reasoned that if it was something we wanted, we should attempt it while we were still young. I pledged never to endanger our marriage or our love, but I did show cautious attention. I told him, "You are the most significant person in my life. If our love bond is strong, it will withstand infidelity," James retorted. James didn't respond when I retorted. A mutual open relationship wouldn't be considered infidelity because we'd both agree to it. Consider our marriage open starting right now, he remarked instead. Surprised again, I told him to calm down and that we needed to set ground rules. He made the following specifics. We had to let people know ahead of time who we would be sleeping with and when. We had to later, without going into graphic detail, tell each other about the incident. There are no exceptions to the rule that all types of closeness must be protected. I accepted his conditions and suggested a few more. We would maintain the privacy of our open marriage. We would pledge to stay together and prevent these adulterous affairs from ruining our marriage. James declared that he was unable to accept either of these terms. He refused to talk about it more and just said he didn't and wouldn't agree to them. When I questioned why, I was worried since this felt totally out of character for James. I snuggled up to him in spite of my discomfort, and we dozed off. I became uncomfortable with the idea of an open relationship throughout the course of the following month because I thought James might be up to something, limiting our exchanges to trivial subjects like the weather or our respective workloads. Then one day, Jaden asked me if something was wrong and said he truly missed our discussions. I explained to him that I didn't have much time to talk because I was so busy at work and at home. I contemplated whether or not to disclose my open marriage to him. I eventually made the decision to tell him how I wish I could take that choice back. I asked Jaden to join me for a drink after work because it didn't seem acceptable to have such a chat there. He concurred. We got together at a neighborhood tavern with a terrace outside, which was ideal for the warm early spring weather. I asked him directly whether he would be interested in a relationship after telling him about my newly announced marriage. Without hesitation, he said yes, although he respected my boundaries. Jaden acknowledged that he had been waiting for me to change my mind and that he had been dreaming about me for months. We talked flirtatiously most of the time. That night, we decided to have our first romantic meeting at his flat the next day. I made it clear that I had to depart by 6:30 p.m. to go back home to James, who was still my top priority. I came home that evening and made James a delicious meal. After supper, I told him about my conversation and meeting with Jaden earlier in the day and that we had planned to meet at his apartment the next day. Assuming James was still okay with us being married in an open marriage. Despite appearing surprised, James answered, "Oh, yes, all right. So you're meeting him tomorrow." As my top focus was him and our relationship, I reassured him that we could still cancel if he so desired. "No," he insisted. "Let's do this." In contrast to our typical embraces, I felt hardness and remoteness in his. I blamed it on nerves. We didn't speak much that night as I concentrated on my own work and James worked in his office. I tried to start an intimate conversation with him before we went to bed, but he stated he was too exhausted and wanted to relax. When I woke up the following morning, James had already left, leaving a text message saying that he had neglected to mention an early meeting. He also mentioned that he would see me that evening. This was not like him, but I brushed it off and went about my day as usual, dressing and going to work. I picked a really lovely clothing that day because I knew I was going out with Jaden after work. I texted James throughout the day, but he didn't reply. I contemplated calling off our date with Jaden, but I now regret not doing so. I got a text from James at 4:17 p.m. He promised to meet me that evening and wrote that he loved me. I was relieved by this, and I saw it as his approval to proceed. I'll get right to the point. When Jaden and I first met, our private moment was fierce. There was clearly no love involved, and it wasn't quite as satisfying as it is with James, but because of the unlawful nature of what we were doing and the pure passion, it was physically satisfying. After an hour and a half, I left Jaden's residence and got home shortly after 6:40 p.m. I was shocked to see that James wasn't home yet. I was relieved since it allowed me to take a shower and wash my clothes to get rid of the smell of Jaden's perfume. Despite my physical sense of fulfillment, I was overcome with regret, guilt, and shame. I felt soiled, as though I had violated every fundamental principle in my marriage. I was really anxious, and it was a mental tug-of-war. I made a short but beautiful meal and put candles to create a romantic atmosphere. Since I was determined to make it up to James, I wanted him to understand how much I loved him and that the sexual relationship with Jaden was meaningless because it was only physical and couldn't compare to the happiness and love I had with James. My hope was that we would make love at the end of the evening. James was still away from home around 7:30 p.m. when I tried to call him. The call went straight to voicemail. I texted him to let him know that dinner was ready when I got home. When I didn't hear back by 8:50 p.m., I became concerned. I kept phoning and texting him, leaving messages, but I never heard back. At last, at approximately 9:30 p.m., James texted me saying, "Don't wait up. I will arrive home late." He didn't respond when I texted him back to inquire where he was and who he was with. I finally dozed off after midnight, emotionally and physically spent. The sound of the shower running in the guest bathroom awakened me. When I went up to look, I saw that the door was locked, which was completely out of character for James. He did not answer when I knocked. After 10 minutes, James came out wrapped in a towel and said nonchalantly, "Hey, how was your night?" After I assured him that everything was okay, he asked me straight out, "Did you have sex with Jaden?" I winced at his directness and urged him to use a different wording. I reluctantly said, "Yes, Jaden and I were together." I then inquired about his whereabouts. James confessed that he had gone out dancing and spent the night at multiple pubs because I could smell perfume on his clothing. I was suspicious and questioned who he was with. Upon pressing, I inquired, "Who is she?" He said, "I don't have to identify her because we haven't shared a bed." Although I was astonished by what he said, I was more offended by his tone and language. James's angry remarks caused me great concern, although he never used profanity when addressing me. I then questioned him about why he had taken a shower in the guest bathroom. He told me tersely that until I had completed the STD tests, he would be utilizing the guest bathroom and bedroom. I was devastated by his statements. This wasn't part of our rules, I objected. I ensured that Jaden wore protection during all of our activities. "Have you never heard of oral HPV or herpes?" James shot back, "Till you're cleared, I won't come within 6 feet of you." Think of this as my personal take on social distancing. I informed James that I wanted to end our marriage right now, since I was so distraught and crying. I cried. "This is the last thing I wanted to happen. No way." James shot back, "I'll have my turn now that you've taken yours." James only stated that he was going to bed since he had an early meeting and needed rest. Even though I started crying more, I sobbed on the couch for the majority of the night before dozing off. When I opened my eyes, James was gone. I tried contacting him during the day, but he didn't pick up. He texted me saying, "Don't wait up for me." I left voicemails and texted, but nobody answered. I felt like I was going crazy because I knew I had probably ruined my marriage. I didn't see Jaden at work that day as there were no deliveries, but I gave him a call at 4:30 p.m. and inquired about our possibility of meeting that night. He acknowledged that I sounded agitated. I told him I wanted to break up with him when we first met, acknowledging that it was a big mistake. I admitted that I just wanted my husband because I loved him. He understood, and all he wanted for was one more connection. Other than that, he would only ever speak to me at work. I consented, and our brief and unremarkable hookup lasted less than 10 minutes and consisted just of a basic posture. Jaden later said to me, "That was awful." I apologized, acknowledging that the entire affair was a tremendous error and not his fault. "You just laid there like a tree trunk," he said. After getting ready and giving him one last hug, I turned to depart. I asked Jaden, bewildered, what he meant when he said, "I never understand women like you," before I left, but he just muttered, "Nothing." No comment, with a look of utter hatred on his face. I hurried off, sobbing all the way home. How was I able to be so foolish? I had ruined my marriage for nothing at all. I felt filthy once more and thought I was the world's most foolish person. It was 1 a.m. when James finally returned home that evening. I was tired of knowing that I was the only one responsible for ruining my life. James did the same thing on Friday, leaving before I woke up and texting me, "Don't wait up for me." The coldness and distance between us broke my heart. I missed our mornings, evenings, and weekends together, cooking together, going on walks after supper, and chatting about random topics. I sorely missed it when it was all gone. I sent James a text message requesting to speak with him the following morning. "All right," he said, "as long as it's first thing." I asked him where he was going, but he didn't respond. "I'm leaving for the day." It was 1:30 a.m. when he returned home. I just lay in bed and sobbed without saying anything. Without saying anything, James immediately went to bed after taking another shower in the guest bathroom. The following morning, I got up early to await his arrival. He entered the kitchen, poured himself some orange juice, and sat at the table, looking at his phone at 7 in the morning. The atmosphere was lifeless and icy. I approached him, sat on his knee, and whispered, "Look at me." He looked away, but I gently took hold of his face and met his brown eyes. I said, "You have my undying love. I really apologize for the poor choice I made. Not a mistake, but a decision. I will stop at nothing to win back your love and trust." James remained silent while staring at me as if I were crazy. I pleaded, "Are you still in love with me?" He said, "I'm not sure." I sobbed and begged, "I can put this right." He said, "I don't think you can." I said in a fit of rage, "You orchestrated everything, didn't you? Set me up for divorce." James denied it but acknowledged that, based on what he had read, he realized our relationship was probably finished the moment I raised the subject of an open marriage. I questioned him, "Why didn't you just tell me to stop talking to Jaden?" I was devastated by his response. "You can't make someone be faithful. You are either monogamous or not, and it is clear that you are not." He just got up and stated he was going. Despite my entreaties not to ruin our marriage, he said he would return after midnight. When I questioned where he was going, "Tomorrow is Easter Sunday." I told him our scheduled departure time is 7:00 a.m. to go visit the home of my parents. We spend every holiday with them because they adore you. James replied, "I'm not going." What am I supposed to tell my parents? I begged him to come. Shocked, "Tell them the truth," he added with a shrug. He packed a gym bag and left the house without saying anything more, despite my repeated pleas for him to stay. I feel totally deflated and ruined inside. I would appreciate any guidance or recommendations regarding actions I can take to keep my marriage intact. I'm particularly interested in hearing from those who have had similar situations with open marriages and whether or not a couple can move over such a betrayal after an open relationship. Have you been able to successfully reconcile? I appreciate you hearing my tale. I'm going to bed now so I can spend the rest of the day crying. First update. I would want to express my gratitude to everyone who replied with comments and encouragement. I was able to get through the past several days because of it. Many individuals properly chastised me and called me derogatory things, but I deserve it, and I also value your opinions. 2 of the worst days of my life have been Easter Sunday and today. When I pulled up to my parents' house, they asked me right away, "Where's James?" I lied to them and said he couldn't make it because of an emergency at work. I didn't want the family get-together to be disturbed. At first, my family believed my tale, but as the day wore on, they began to suspect that I wasn't phoning or texting my husband as I usually do. I sent multiple phony texts and claimed to have responses from James, assuring everyone he was still busy at work and would give me a call tomorrow in order to allay their suspicions. To be honest, he never texted or called, not even to see whether I had made it safely. I was devastated by this. On Monday, I had intended to spend the night at my parents' house and discuss our marital issues with them. I was afraid they would be angry and despise me if I did this. I told them this morning, and everything went exactly as I had expected. They shouted at me, called me horrible names, and said that I wasn't brought up this way. When my sister was summoned over, she started to lash out at me as well. I told them I realized what I had done was horrible and sobbed. I promised them that I had grown from the experience and would never do the same thing again. I informed them that regaining James' love and trust would be my only priority going forward. Ultimately, they told me they loved me and would pray for our marriage to be saved. Even if they were furious with me, on Monday night, I took a car home. I texted and called James during the day, but he didn't respond. He had gone to Florida to see his parents and would be back on Sunday, according to a note on the counter. When I got home, we had arranged to go there together in early May, so I felt terrible now that the strategy is shattered because of me. I despise myself for now. That's all I have to say. I'm simply so unhappy and dejected. The fact that I'm no longer crying frightens me. Tears no longer seem worth shedding because of the depth of my hurt and regret. Second update. I didn't intend to publish again for almost a year, but I decided to offer an update because the community showed such a great deal of interest. I have some good news as well as some negative news. The first piece of terrible news is that I'm divorced. Back in December, it was decided. James ultimately came to the conclusion that he couldn't stay married to me once I started seeing another man. He claimed that he was ashamed to be seen with me in public and that he would never be able to trust me again. He claimed that he regained his masculinity after the divorce. I disagree. He never lost his manhood, and only our families are aware of my brief relationship with Jaden. Well, anything. The good news, no. The amazing news is that last month, James and I resumed our dating life. It's been great since Valentine's Day, when we reconnected. Our passion level is unmatched, much higher than when we initially started dating 6 years ago. But we only see each other when he wants to, which has been around once a week. James has stated unequivocally that this is merely a physical matter and that we will never again be a couple, get married, or live together. I'll take what I can get, but I'm not really comfortable with this. I want to get James back. I would like to have his children. If I am unable to achieve that, I wouldn't baby trap him, so don't get me wrong. All I want is to have kids with him without getting married. I've considered how we could divide custody and still work things out. I don't want children with anybody else, even though I know it seems weird, but I love him. I understand that doing this would probably put any future relationships I might have with other men in jeopardy. But I only want James. That's all I have to say for now. And until something significant occurs, I doubt I'll post again. However, I would adore hearing your thoughts about my predicament. Do you believe that my decision to date James is insane? Is it better for me to go on and find someone else to start a family with? P.S. Jaden has never been an option. I simply made a poor choice with him, and I will never do it again. Thank you. Thank you for watching. If you haven't subscribed yet, please do so and hit the notification bell to stay updated with more shocking real-life stories happening around you.